back just in time. But thanks for joining us. As you may know, there's some shows to cover tonight. Love Craft mentioned it last week. So we decided to do something cool. Just a little reintroduction to like what we do. It is a TV show recap podcast. So in this interim, we decided that we will allow you, the viewer, to ask us some questions. So it's going to be a mailbag episode. But before we get into that, I would like to introduce the co-host, Courtney. What's up, Courtney? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm like not the least sober one for once. It's an accomplishment.
No comment on that. But D, how you doing?
I am great. Living a life. Feeling good. Feeling great. Feeling great. Feeling good. How are you?
I'm feeling great. So yeah,
He was just kind of quiet while Ron and I were complaining about work. She was like,
right?
"Oh, it's Monday for you."
Work. What is this work you speak of?
But yeah, so thanks to you, thanks to everyone who asked us a question, because 5 of you lucky folks will get one of these. So we're gonna do that tonight. So and also if you're watching, feel free to comment. You may win one later, may not, but who knows. So just stay tuned with us. But before we get into our questions, I wanted to ask you some questions. This is something I prepared. Before we get into our questions, I want to see where you're at with your, TV watching or whatever. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. This is going to be a lightning round. So just give, just a quick answer. My first question is, what show did you discover or rediscover during this pandemic? Everyone was binging. We had a bit of a downtime. So Courtney, you start first.
Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because Netflix got it, and my thing is Michael hasn't seen like half of the things because he's uncultured, so I forced him to watch the whole thing. So
dating an uncultured swine. What did I discover? Fargo season 2.
Hey! By the way, there are Fargo recaps. Just tossing that out there. But yeah, so a show I discovered, there are actually 2. The first is on My Hero Academia. I was sleeping, but I am not.
You had never seen it?
Nah.
Never. Go Beyond Plus Ultra. Never.
Go Beyond Plus Ultra. Yes, it is amazing. So even if you think you don't like anime, please watch that show.
I feel like that's a good gateway anime.
Mm-hmm. It is really like the most heartwarming, like just inspirational show. Like it's so good. So yeah, if you haven't
I want to
watched
clarify, I have seen Avatar before because I thought you said rediscover. I actually haven't seen anything that I haven't seen other than like random documentaries.
Oh no, you're fine. I said discover or rediscover. So yeah,
okay.
that covers all bases. And the show I did actually discover, rediscover was I went through The Wire again, which is one of the greatest shows of all time. Now, I have a second question for you. What is your most underrated show of all time? Like, what's a show that doesn't get its praise or people don't really know about? Courtney, look like you have an answer.
Can you guess my answer? I want to know if you can guess my answer because I feel like you know my answer.
I feel like I do.
Pokemon.
No. Samurai Jack.
It's Samurai Jack.
It's Samurai Jack. It's like one of the most underrated shows, and like, yeah, it got accolades, but it didn't get, to me, underrated. Like, it was rated well, but it didn't get the accolades it deserved. Like, that show is like borderline art, and I actually wrote because it's the only thing I think I've written for the Kids Wear Crowns. I actually wrote something about it.
Yeah, we're gonna link that. If you're rewatching this, check the description. We're gonna relink that. So yeah, Courtney wrote a great piece on the final season.
I cried,
which we all watched. It was amazing. So yeah, Samurai Jack. If you haven't watched that, D, what about you?
Just want to add to Samurai Jack. I didn't watch anything but the final season, and it was fantastic. Like, it was really, really, really good. I watch so much TV. It's difficult. I do want to say that I keep telling people to watch Cloak and Dagger season 2. It was really good. I really enjoyed Cloak and Dagger. Yeah. And it was something else. I mean, I've been watching Schitt's Creek, but I feel like a lot of people are watching Schitt's Creek now because it's so popular.
It's finally kind of good. Yeah.
But it's good. I mean, I can see why people watch it. But I can't think of anything. It'll come to me, of course, once it's over. I'll be like, oh yeah.
A whole category of this are like really or like somewhat popular Netflix seasons that made it to season 2 and then they canceled it. I feel like almost every show that has made most Netflix originals that for some reason they were really good, like Sense8 and stuff like that, and they just cancel it for no reason.
Actually, hold on to that, Courtney, because you actually guessed my next question. So I'm going to give my answer really quick, and then we're going to get into that. How would you do that?
Oh, before you give your answer, my kids have been running around the house chanting Cobra Kai, just so y'all know. It's the weirdest thing ever. It's Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai. I'm like, okay.
So Dee's raising them correctly is all you need to know.
I can see.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. She's raising them correctly.
So my answer, if I were to choose one, my answer if I were to choose one, I'm going to acknowledge only the first 2 seasons of the show. I'm going to cheat. The Killing. The Killing first 2 seasons were really good. And then I'm going to add a second one to this. D is a show that you really didn't care for, but You're the Worst. I feel like that's a show that went really under the radar. You may know Aya Cash. She is the Nazi that everyone likes to root for. But yeah, You're the Worst was a really, really good show, and I feel like it went under the radar. Now, for my third question, which you guessed, Courtney, great by the way. Which canceled too soon show would you bring back if you had the chance?
Sense8 was my answer. Sense8. I thought it was a great show.
What about you?
Go ahead.
No, Courtney, go ahead. You thought it was a great show?
I thought it was a great show. I think there's some parts that people didn't understand, but I think that like it's an extremely like inclusive show, like for the time that we weren't really seeing. Like we saw like transgender people of all different races, like, and it was just normal. It wasn't like, oh hey, this person is like, and this is our token, and it worked really beautifully. And they kind of it was a really cool concept, and they kind of just like, bleh. So Netflix, I have an issue with you.
I saw it's 2 shows that people like really, really, really loved that I saw a scene out of context that just threw me off for the whole season. One of them was Sense8 because the scene I saw was I just happened to walk in where there was a scene. There were 2 women on the bed, and next thing I know, there's a rainbow dildo on the floor. Yeah. I didn't know what was happening.
It works better with context. It works better.
It works better with context. Yeah.
It works better. Like it's just like them being like a normal relationship, but it's funny. But yeah, I can imagine if that's the only thing you saw. Yeah,
it was so weird. And it made like a noise. Like the noise is what made me look up to see.
And it wasn't actually a sex scene. It wasn't actually a sex scene. It was more of like a post-sex scene.
I don't even think.
But what was like a big deal about that?
It had a very loud thunk. Yeah.
Yeah, it did. What was a bigger deal is that like one of the people in the relationship is transgender, and it was like one of the first shows where like someone that was transgender was treated normally. It's like, oh, they have, people have sex, So like it just treated people as like normal. So
the other one is Sons of Anarchy because I saw Peg Bundy giving Hellboy oral pleasure, and I didn't know what was happening.
Oh! I thought you said which show would you bring back too soon, but that's scene out of context.
Weird...
I was like,
no, that was my other show.
No, I was like, that's a weird explanation for a show.
That was my other out of context. The show I would bring back is always going to be the same answer, and it's always going to be How to Make It in America.
Okay.
Always. It's always going to be How to Make It in America.
So
I also like some like little shows. Like there's a show called GCB, which was like on ABC, and it was like the dumbest show ever, but it was so funny. And Happy Endings. Not that it didn't have a lot of seasons, but I would have liked to have one more.
You took both of my shows. Both of my shows are How to Make It in America, which is 2 seasons, so underrated. Please watch it. Please watch it. And Happy Endings is my other show. Happy Endings is, I think it's still on Netflix. Please watch that.
Yeah, Pitch. That's my show. Pitch. That's the one I wanted to bring back.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people like Pitch, but for some reason it got canceled. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, what is it that like these shows that are genuinely good, they don't make it past 1 to 2 seasons, and yet they renew the trash, and I'm just like, why? What? Like, do you have a problem with me, Netflix? Especially you,
like,
because Netflix is the worst.
Did y'all watch Altered Carbon?
I tried to watch it, but I was like, this is like Blade Runner minus everything that made Blade Runner cool. So
exactly. I had no interest.
It wasn't bad. It was just like
it was just
so many people told me it was exceptional, and I was just like, this isn't exceptional.
It was like room temperature water. It was like room temperature water. Like if I was thirsty, if I was thirsty, I would drink it. But if I would still probably choose the ice water.
Yeah, there's like an abundance of shows to watch right now, so I'm not gonna really waste my time on a show that just like.
If I'm parched, then yes.
Yeah.
And we ain't parched because there's plenty of content. Plenty.
And it's a pandemic.
Yep.
But speaking of the content, let's get into these questions. Go ahead, D, while I get set up.
Did y'all by any chance watch Monsterland?
I didn't.
Even though it's trippy.
That's something I would like because I kind of like trippy sometimes.
It's trippy. I think you'll like it. It's one of those. If you don't like open-ended things, don't watch it because almost all of them are. But they're good open-ended where it's like the ending is there, but you're still gonna have people like, no, the top keeps spinning when you know clearly that the top wobbled, type of thing.
And Nicole Bahari is in there, right?
And that's the best episode.
Okay,
the one she's in.
I need to watch that because
I like open-ended things. Because I used to be really big into reading, and if you ever were a reader, then 90% of the shit you read is open-ended. So,
all right. So our first question is from the homie Pins87. She's like one of our longest followers. I think she's been following us since I had the first blog. But shout out to Pins87. She was like, "Did watching Lovecraft Country make you want to study magic more?" Who wants to take this first?
I'll take it. I mean, because I actually have friends that do kind of practice things like that. Not in a sense, but the thing is, from what I know about it, it's not really close to anything like how it actually is. It's nothing close to it. This is more adjacent to Lovecraft, everything that Lovecraft did, but when in terms of people that actually practice Wicca and stuff, it's nothing similar. Based on what I may be wrong, but based on what I know that my friends, some of my friends that do that, it's nothing similar. So not really, but does it make me want to read more Lovecraft-esque stories? Yeah.
D, what about you?
I don't play with demons. So, but I will say I liked how it was weaving different types of spirituality with each other. And I like the idea of that there is not one definitive way to be spiritual or one way to be connected to God. And I know that conflicts with Christians because they think Christians say the only way to God is through Jesus. I'm not debunking that. I'm just saying I like the idea that the whole thing is you call him God, someone else might call him Yahweh, someone else might call him this, but it all leads to the same thing. And I like the idea of that because it doesn't give any one person control over what they believe or how they want to worship and all that good stuff. So that I appreciate. But as far as magic in itself,
no, actually, I think that's a good point. See, it's they did that really beautifully. It's not exclusionary at all. It kind of lets all of the spiritualities and all the beliefs and aspects of that, they all exist at the same time. And I think that's actually a really neat concept that we don't really see a lot. It's either certain different folklores or mythologies, but everything exists in this. And actually, I'd like to see more of that. And done well. Not
done well.
Not like this two-spirit thing, but really well done. Yeah. So
hopefully that opened the door for somebody else to do that better.
I'm hoping so. I think, and even Misha Green was like, "Yeah, I made a mistake, but next time we will actually bring someone that knows
something
more."
Good, yeah.
So this show, while I don't want to study magic more, it makes me want to study the real world influences. For instance, the sons of Adam and the Order, they're clearly based on something, and already secret societies were kind of my thing. I've I'm weird. I like to read about like the Rosicrucians and the things like that. So like secret societies like that and the Illuminati and things of that nature. Like, yeah, I like reading about that.
So this is more of like a Wikipedia like dive trip for you.
Right. So it made me want to explore like more about like the secret societies and how they connect and intersect with race in this country, because I think that's another thing the show did well. It showed you that everything's like connected from top to the bottom. It just added like a almost like a supernatural element on top of it. But yeah, the show did highlight, you know, how all these things are controlled by people pulling the strings behind the scenes. So that's what I want to explore more.
You want to be one of the skulls. You want to join a secret society.
I do not. I just want to read about it.
He wants to know about it. He wants to be the journalist that gets too close and then ends up being the main character. That's Ron. He's the journalist that's too curious and gets caught up.
So this is a great question by our man Joe Code. He says, every time I go back for a rewatch of one of my favorite shows, I see it through a different viewpoint. Example, Skylar wasn't that bad. She wasn't, by the way. She was trying to protect her family from her deranged husband. What's something you picked up from rewatching one of your favorite TV shows a few times? D, you're making a face. You go first.
I just didn't like Skylar. I mean, I know Walt was awful, but I think the two things can exist together. Walt was awful, and so was Skylar, but her sister was probably worse. But anyway, we don't need to go down a Breaking Bad wormhole. My favorite shows that I've seen, I don't know. I think the only shows I've like rewatched are like Friday Night Lights and like silly shows like Moesha and Girlfriends and stuff like that, because they're more background noise than me just, you know, rewatching. It's one of those things where it's nothing on TV, so I'm like, I know I can watch this. It's familiar. But he has a point. Because I've seen Boomerang a million times, and every time I watch it, there's something else I find to laugh about. And I know that's weird because it's just the same movie over and over and over again, but it's like that with those two. Well, Boomerang and The Wood, like those are two of my favorite movies, and I find something else to laugh about every time I watch it. So I have to say those movies instead of TV shows.
Okay, what about you, Courtney?
For me, I rewatch sometimes. I kind of have to wait. Most of the time, things I've like rewatched, like I liked as a child, and I rewatched as an adult. I can't. I only have a kids TV show as an example, and that's Ash Ketchum is the worst trainer of all time. Mm-hmm. Do not allow Pokemon near him. He's going to get Pikachu killed. It took this child who's supposed to be a man, 20 years to get a championship, and the only time he got it was because he went to a place. He went to a place that had never had a tournament before. That's what it took for him to win. Anyway, this is how bad this man is. And now I'm like, you know what? Gary's not that bad. But I'm like, he's cocky because he's good. I can't blame him. But no, like I'll watch, like I did my rewatch of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I watched it when I was like a preteen age. I kind of understood Zuko a lot more. I was like, oh yeah, he's well now also because I'm a social worker, my thing, and I always say this, I'm like, man, this person's traumatized. This person needs therapy. So yeah, I think when I rewatch shows and movies, I'm more of like, I guess not that I like the villain more. I understand motives a lot more, especially since, I have a degree that's based in psychology and sociology. I look at it from that lens, and I'm just like, this person needs this treatment, this treatment. I guess I have more of an adult understanding. And one of the worst things is when I rewatch like the Disney sitcoms, I relate so much to the parents. I'm like, why are they allowing their kid to do this? And I'm just like, oh wait, I'm old. No. But I'm just like, why would they do this? And when I was a kid, I'm like, oh my God, the adults are so lame. And now I'm like, where are the adults in this show? Yeah. That's the hardest thing when you're always like, that's how you know you're grown, is when you watch a kid's show and you're like, where are the adults?
Mm-hmm. It's so cool to see it from that perspective though, because you really understand. It's like it's almost watching a new show, because you are looking at it from a totally different perspective. That's the thing I guess I love about TV shows like that. They have, I guess, multi-generations within the show, because you can see it from different angles.
Yeah. I think that's the best shows to rewatch. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, actually, because I'm difficult to actually have like two answers. This is a show I've rewatched several times, and D, it comes as no surprise. Mr. Robot. Like I used to be like, there was like kind of a meta like type of thing going on with this show, and like I used to scream this from like the rooftops, and people thought I was crazy. But this show is really just talking about like the symbiotic relationship between like technology and humans. So like since watching that show, like I found myself more inclined to like just unplug and detach myself. Like I like go dark on like social media sometimes, because it really shows like how stuff like that can, you know, make you obsessive basically. But my real answer, which is, and my take predates these videos on YouTube. So I went back and it was on some streaming service. I can't remember when, but Saved by the Bell, Zach Morris is the worst person ever.
Oh yeah, that would be good to rewatch some like the 90s sitcoms. And you're just like, some of the main characters, you're like, I hate this person.
Zach Morris is a terrible, terrible human being. So when people say it makes no sense that he's the governor of California in this reboot, I was like, it makes total sense to me because he's such a terrible person. So yeah, that's my answer. Zach Morris. Just going back and watching that, we used to think he was so cool growing up, but he's actually one of the worst people ever.
You know what? Hold on, I'll take. Can I add one more? I rewatched.
Yeah, go ahead.
I rewatched this lately because of Disney Plus, and I rewatched The Proud Family because that was like one of my favorite shows, like all-time favorite shows as a kid. And I'm like, all of these girls are such terrible friends. Like Penny's terrible, Dejanay is terrible. I'm like, they're all so terrible. And of course, the same thing. I was like, Trudy's too good for I forget her dad's name. Like how I still never understood how that happened. But I'm like, she's like a veterinarian, and he's like a stay-at-home entrepreneur. And she still takes care of the kids. But yeah, that was one that I rewatched. I was like, all these girls are so terrible, and I don't miss being a teenager. I'm gonna watch The Proud Family. It's good.
I'm gonna watch it now. I've never watched it.
It's still, the jokes still hold up to me, but I feel aged because like there was this one episode where there was like a Matrix reference and a Napster reference, and I'm like, I rewatched it as an adult, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm old.
That's what I used to, man. I used to sit. Just have my computer running all night long to get one song on Napster.
My baby brother, who was born in 2002, asked me what Napster was.
Oh wow!
And I was just like, because I'm 9 years older than him, so I'm just like, yeah, he only knows about 9/11 in the history books. That's how I feel old.
Oh wow! We are some geezers.
Yeah, we are.
Hold on now, because I'm older than both of you.
All right. This is another good question. What TV villain do you relate to the most? Courtney, you take this one first.
Because she got set up in the end as a villain. Daenerys Targaryen was done so wrong. Okay. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. I'm fine with her being a female villain, but they had her go crazy in 2 episodes because the dude, her boyfriend / uncle or nephew, whatever, gross, but broke up with her. And I'm just like, they didn't make this substantive. I'm like, the thing is, I get it because no one wanted her around. Her best friend died. Her advisor died. And she's set to claim what was hers. Any other character did it. And they're cool. But all of a sudden, Daenerys is to be hated for doing this. She's to be hated. She was cast out, right? And she was just a baby, was almost murdered. And she went to claim that was rightfully hers. And no one wanted her in a time where, like, seriously, like, the kingdom was being run down. And, like, Jon is an idiot. He's such an idiot. He's not wise. He's not humble. He's stupid. He stumbled his way to nothing. Like, being honorable is not the best thing in the world. We've had these conversations. So sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not. He's broken the rules. But it's just, like, the super Stark treatment, like, got on my nerves. So yes, and because she was set up to be, I would be fine with her being a villain, but they said, Dave and Dan, you better never see me in public, ever. Call the police if you do. I have beef with you. That's who I relate to.
And the crazy thing about John is that the running joke about it is that he repeatedly said, "I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it," over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, oh my God.
And the thing is, and like, go away then. It's like here, he doesn't want it, and like he has never. I mean, he's been in leadership positions, but come on, it's just like he take it, and then they give it to Bran. Okay. Mm. Anyway, okay. I will over it if I don't shut up.
Oh, TV villain. I don't know. I don't.
Does like comic TV shows count? Because Poison Ivy, I always related to, because I'm like, she's just asking people to not like trash the environment. That's all. She's a botanist.
That's all she wants.
And I'm fine with her killing. If she went and killed the head of BP, I would be fine with it.
Yeah, that's all she wants. So D, you're drawing a blank.
No, I'm gonna have to go with like Omar from The Wire, and only because he's a villain, right? Like he's a air quotes villain,
and it's only because he's
Robin Hood. I agree.
But I guess it depends on what side of the game you're on. He's a villain. Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? One day at a time, I suppose. He's just really good. And I'm trying to think of like TV shows where there was because most of the stuff I've seen, most TV shows make the villain do something very, very, very evil near the end where you're just like, oh, okay, fine. That's the only thing. Like, I hate that TV trope where like, you don't really think this is the villain until they really cross that line, that very, very thick line, but they cross and then you're like, oh, okay, this seems out of character.
Interesting that you mentioned that. Hold on to that. Because that may be one of our upcoming questions. But
okay, so yeah, Mark, because I can't think of anybody else.
So yeah, Courtney goes with Our Lady Targaryen. D goes with Omar. I'm going to select. She did deserve better. I'm going to select. And this is like a pretty left field take. This is one of my favorite TV shows of all time, The X-Files. So my answer is the cigarette smoking man. Like if you're familiar with this
smoking man, that's his name?
because that's not his name. They don't reveal his name until much later in the show. But when you see him, he's always smoking a cigarette. So Mulder refers to Fox Mulder refers to him as the cigarette smoking man. But it turns out, actually, D, what you mentioned, and without giving anything away, because you totally should watch X-Files if you haven't. We find out much later that he's not so much of a villain. Well, he does like sinister things, but it's for a reason. I'll say that. So the things he does terrible things. Like, don't get me wrong, he does terrible things, but you find out that he's doing them for a specific reason. So yeah, the cigarette smoking man. And by the way, one of the coolest characters of all time, the cigarette smoking man. So yeah, if you haven't watched the X-Files, you don't have to watch all like 1,000 episodes. Just go watch the story. Yeah, just go watch the story arc episodes. It won't take you that long. But yeah, the cigarette smoking man is, to me, the TV villain I relate to the most. And hopefully that doesn't make the FBI send someone to my house. But
you know who should be the villain? Ash Ketchum, because he's almost getting his Pokemon murdered every time, and he's so bad at what he does.
Charizard is just looking like, hey, bro, like, are you going?
Charizard do better. Listen, the reason why he's still 10 is because he's still perpetually a man child and can't learn. In this essay, I will. Free Pikachu. It's like free. It's like how Chuck and AJ and I are always on Lee about free Django. Whereas this is it. We're free Pikachu.
Free Pikachu. Yeah. Like no evolution in like 20 years. Like, what's up?
Right.
All right. So great question. What are some cliches? And by the way, the last question was by Average Wayne on Twitter. So shout out to Average Wayne. But this question is from Boring Water Sign. She's an IG follower. Her question is, what are some cliches that y'all love and hate in a TV show? So this question kind of has two answers. Talk about a cliche that you kind of like, but also talk about a cliche you hate.
This is my friend Savannah, by the way.
Oh yeah, shout out to Savannah. So D, since you kind of did a segue, start there.
All right, I gotta give you one I hate.
Yeah.
I hate the love triangle where they always when they have a love triangle, but they make one of the people do something out of character just so you can pick which one. Mm-hmm. I hate that. Like, I feel like real life is more complicated, and it's I know they're usually rom-coms, by the way. By the way, I love rom-coms, so y'all, you're just gonna have to get these rom-com takes, okay? But I hate when there are two people, and like there's a girl who's with a guy, and she's been with this guy forever, and they love each other and they're happy, and then the new guy comes, and then all of a sudden the old guy's a jackass who's never paid her any attention and doesn't love her. I'm like, that's stupid.
It's just called cheating. It's called emotional cheating. It's all it is.
They want to make you feel okay with the girl going with the new guy because he's cuter and he's nicer and he's fresher and he's been the person that she didn't understand she was missing, although she's been happy with this dude for 18 years, right?
You know what they should do? They should show like 10 years in the future where all of a sudden she's over the new guy, the new guy, and she's like, oh, all of a sudden he's an asshole, and now she needs another new fresh. It's called a cheater. It's called someone that cheats.
Another new guy.
You're gonna find an excuse to hate somebody if you want to cheat on them.
Yep, and the reverse of that actually is the thing I like. I love when they don't do that. When they just make the person be a jackass. For instance, A Different World. Byron didn't do anything wrong. They just made Dwayne and Whitley break his heart. Like it just was what it was. It's just the true thing that happened. There was no candy coating it. They were awful people in that moment. That's what it was. The movie Brown Sugar. They kind of did it with Nicole because she did cheat on him, whatever. But Boris was he didn't read her article, and I know that sucks, but really.
Imagine cheating on your spouse because they didn't read your article. That's like I download Tinder because Michael didn't watch a podcast.
Podcast, Jonathan. It's over. Like, so that's my thing. I hate that.
Is that not the modern equivalent? Is that not the modern equivalent?
It is.
It really is.
I'm downloading Tinder. But
so that's my thing. The love triangle is my cliche that I don't like.
So
what about one that you love? Did you talk about? Oh, you did talk about one you love. Okay, so
the
one I hate,
the love triangle.
The one that I hate the most, and this is hold on, I'm gonna need to take a sip because I want to go on another rant. Just because a woman removes her glasses and straightens her hair, she goes from ugly to hot.
Oh my God! Yes.
Shit. Well, I hate it because as a child, I saw it in what's that movie with Anne Hathaway, Princess Diaries? And that's when I started straightening my hair. But it's because I'm like, oh, she has to be pretty. She has to straighten her hair to be pretty. So I started straightening my hair. Like it's first of all, it's damaging, and then it's also just stupid. It's the dumbest. It's like, okay, but she has to see. I loved it because in Scary Movie, the first Scary Movie, they played on this where like they take her glasses off and she's hot, and then she falls down the stairs because she can't see. But I'm just like, she can't see. It's just things like that, or it's just like they do this with female characters the most, but they have to like change themselves to do something. I just hate this, or like to get a guy that they like, and this is kind of with rom-coms too, because I also love rom-coms, but they need to stop it with that because it's just not good for society. Two, it's stupid. It doesn't make sense because like it looks the same. She looks the same. She looks exactly the same. She just isn't wearing glasses. And her hair straight, which it looked better. What were you going to say?
I was going to add, I hate when they make it seem like just because you have sex slowly, that means you're in love. Sorry, I know it's crass, but it's a thing. I hate it so much.
When it's so unrealistic, and you're just like,
making love me slowly, like it has to be very slowly with some slow
sometimes
music,
you're in a hurry,
and that means y'all love each other. Like, that boy don't like you, he's just tired.
I'm sorry, but that's so true. I have to add that to my list. That is so true. It's just like, I mean, it's not something you realize till you're like an adult and you start having sex. You're just like, wait a second, that doesn't mean it. And you're just like, what are these people on? Or like, my thing is like, I'm just gonna start getting into sex scenes because those are actually some of the worst things in television because they're so unrealistic. It's like, it's like, so her hair is down and she never puts it up at all. And it's perfect by the end. And she's just like, and then like the covers are like perfectly covering her. And it's like, you're not hot. You're just like, it's just like, no way.
Flawless. No sweat.
I saw one. I forget what it is. This movie. She had like red lipstick on, and it stayed the whole time. I'm like, this is the biggest crock of bullshit I've ever seen. I couldn't even watch the movie. But what is one that I like?
We're not saying like make porn. We get that. It's not porn. We get it. But like, just make
it more real. Make it
realistic.
More real. Like,
I generally hate sex scenes anyway because they're so stupid. Like sometimes
they're always stupid.
Yeah, sometimes you get it because they want to show you that there's a difference, right? Like I said, we talked about this before.
Boomerang, sex is hilarious.
Yeah, like in Boomerang, they show you this is the way this happens. This is the way this happens because they're trying to show you who's a certain dominance. It was a plot point, so it made sense to put it in. But other than that, it's just like, let's just make sure you guys know they're in love because they're gonna have sex really slowly,
like super slow, and it's just like, are you into this? It's just like, are you into each other at all?
Yeah, they love it because they're kissing the whole time, Courtney. So they love each other because they're kissing the whole time.
There are moments where it's just like, breathe. How are you breathing? it's not funny. Like, I would just love it. It's just like there's like one moment where they just gasp for air. Anyway, I'm gonna move on.
Water. Anyway, go ahead, Ronnie.
Just like, you need a water break. I have it. I don't know what I love. I don't know what I love in a cliche. I really don't. I don't like cliches in general. I don't know if I really like cliches. I'm a person that I tend to want them to do something new.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Ronnie. I'm gonna get to you. I promise. My other cliche I hate the I'm about to tell you you're gonna die, but somebody comes in and interrupts you, and you don't tell me I'm about to die.
Yeah.
And then they say, what were you going to say? And you say, oh,
never mind. And
it's like, never mind. In the time you said, that's okay, never mind. You could have said,
yeah.
In that time, you could have said, hey, you're going to die.
Here and then.
I would rather, like, it's that cliche in particular. I don't mind people not telling somebody something they know. If I know something about you, Courtney, and I don't tell you, I'm okay with that. But when I go to purposely to tell you, and then Ronnie says, "Oh no," I say, "Courtney, I got to tell you something." You're like, "Wait! Before you do, if I'm ever gonna die, I just hope nobody ever says anything to me because I just want to die in peace." And then I say, oh, "Okay, never mind. I was just gonna ask you if you want to
punch your ass if you ever do that to me."
Yeah.
I thought of another one too.
Hold the information. Yeah.
I thought of another cliche too, and it comes back to Lovecraft because it didn't do this. And people were upset. The whole like forgiving white women, or like all of a sudden you have this white villain, and all of a sudden they're okay. Daenerys is an exception because they made her out to be the villain, and it wasn't logical. But like with Christina, people were like, they didn't do it with her, and people were upset. I saw people talking like, what were they saying? They were like, oh, they could have like had her like help him out in some way. And it's just like, because they were upset because there wasn't like one good white person on the show. And I'm like, that's fine because it's closer to reality. And people were like, we couldn't have her do one good thing. And I'm just like, yes, because I'm sorry to the people that find her attractive. She's a white supremacist.
She is. She told you she was the whole time.
That's a cliche, especially with white women. That like the character is a terrible person, and yet they still try to like do redeeming stuff that's not actually redeeming because the shows are too cowardly to have like a main white character, no good main white characters.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I hate it. I hate it. Go ahead, because we're gonna keep
So I'm gonna start with the cliche that I love. If you haven't noticed by now, I am a fan of detective shows. So one cliche I love is to have the one detective who's a skeptic, and then the other detective who is like, I just believe everything. And
okay, that's good.
This goes for X-Files. This goes for Mindhunter. This goes for True Detective.
True Detective.
Yeah. So yeah. Like that's my favorite cliche. If you give me two like different disparate like detectives, I'm in there like regardless. Like, so yeah, that's my top cliche. Once again, this should come
every episode of debate, right? I'm saying it makes every episode of debate, so I can see why you like it.
I like it. Yeah. Well, because I think it's productive. I think that's the difference. Is that it's a productive cliche. So, yeah. And I think of True Detective. It works so well with True Detective. The season that
it works so well. Season one. Yes. That was the cliche that I hate.
That is the season.
Oh yeah, it was just one season. It got canceled right after that. But the cliche that I hate the most, this should come as no surprise if you listen to our recap of The Boys. It's taking a good character and just seeing how far you could stretch his moral compass, I guess. So his or her moral compass. So there are shows where a character is like good, but then they get stretched out so far, and it's like, okay, like, and it basically becomes like, how far can we push this good character? To me, that's just typically like, that's just bad writing. That's a bad cliche. So I always hate seeing that. The only time it worked, of course, is Breaking Bad, and you find out that Walt was actually bad the entire time. He just wanted a reason to be. So so that works. That was good writing. But when shows do that, I absolutely hate it. So yeah, that's the worst.
So unlikable. I mean, they did this with Kit Harington, with Jon Snow, like where he was so honorable that he was just a himbo the whole time. He was just stupid, and it's just like this character. It's just not. It's like this character is not honorable. This character's not honorable. They're not honorable. They're just dumb. Yeah. Like Ned Stark, I will say it was not like he was honorable, but he was also stupid. Like, why would you tell Cersei that? Like, I'm sorry, he was an idiot. He was an idiot. There's a difference. Like, there's a line between being honorable and stupid. And some people are on the stupid side and they're like, they're just so honorable and honest. It's like, no, they have worms for brains.
So can I tell a funny story real quick?
Yeah.
So you want to know the real, like, if you haven't noticed, I like when you guys started talking about Game of Thrones, I sit out because I haven't finished the series, and it's because I started the series.
I didn't know.
And I was talking to no, it's all good. I mean, I know everything.
I thought you weren't gonna watch it.
No, I watched like half of season 1, and then I was talking to someone. I was like, you know what? Sean Bean, like, I always like him whenever he's in the movie, you know, like Lord of the Rings, whatever. Like, I really like Ned Stark. And then they're like, oh yeah, he's gonna die, man. And I was like, oh.
There was a whole thing, like when, like I remember because I was in college when season 1 started, about how Sean Bean always dies and everything. Some people like just
he always dies.
People that weren't book readers had a feeling he would die because it's Sean Bean. He always dies.
He either always dies
Boromir or Faramir.
He's a villain.
Yeah, he was Boromir in Lord of the Rings. So yeah, he's always gonna die. He's always gonna die.
He either dies. I think it was either he either dies or he's always on the last season or the season before the show gets canceled.
So essentially, he dies anyway.
Like that, yeah.
He dies anyway.
Either dies or he's on the show, and then the show gets canceled once he's on the show.
So either he dies or the show dies.
Yeah.
The thing I will say about that, though, speaking of Game of Thrones, the I guess good thing about them making Ned honorable to a fault was that it cost him his life.
Exactly.
So that was kind of the good way about it. It's just like, you don't need to do this because this will, in the real world, you know, this is what will happen to you. There's no, he's so sweet and he's so nice, we can't kill him. It's like, nah, we're gonna kill him because why not?
He's an idiot. But actually that's one thing that it can, because like people now that don't know Game of Thrones as much, like Game of Thrones was like one of the best shows of its time. It was kind of unprecedented. Before Game of Thrones, I can't believe I have to say this. I guess some people just don't remember. The worst cliche was that main characters never died. The amount of plot armor, like just it never happened.
Shout out to Joko. He said death taxes are sure being done in cinema. Yes,
it's so true. But now, after Game of Thrones, just after that season, it was so unprecedented to have your main character die that now it's normal. Or at least it's way more normal. Now it's like because they realize it's like, hey, people actually like when you don't know. Right? Of course, like there's some characters that do have like plot armor, like Arya Stark that had plot armor that she didn't deserve. Like there's no way she should have made it to the end. It was only because George R.R. Martin's wife said that she would leave him if he ever killed her. That's the only reason that she's looked it up. That's true. It's true. But yeah, I think that's one thing that I really hated. That was a cliche that I think Game of Thrones kind of ended. So like we talk about in The Boys, it's like, well, if we don't see them die, they're not dead. Game of Thrones did that. So
okay, allow me to interject because we just said this show didn't have a second season, but we lied. True Detective, like the first episode, you think Ray Vicoro dies, and I was like, oh my god, this season is about to be fire. But it turns out that even though don't get me wrong,
I don't like. That's a cliche I don't like. It's people like playing the death card, and it's like,
and then reversing it.
You undo everything you just did.
Because I was like, if you guys do this, then that takes some serious balls. Like if you're about to do this, what I think you're about to do, I'm with it. But
if Lovecraft unkills Atticus, I'm gonna be really annoyed.
They're about to.
Yeah, they're going to. And it's gonna undo everything. It's gonna be upsetting.
I mean, I'll be upset until Jonathan Major takes his shirt off.
That's true. That's true.
So
that's true,
on that note, let's go to the and Courtney, have you seen The Wire?
I haven't seen the whole thing, so I can't answer this there.
Okay, well, we're gonna assign you homework. You have to see The Wire. I feel like you would appreciate The Wire, given like I'm not gonna say what you do, but given what you do, you would appreciate it.
That's why I'm like, I started it, and I need to continue.
So our man Chuck, the CSJR, asks, is The Wire the best show ever made from beginning to the end? D. You're shaking your head.
It hurts me to say this. It hurts me to say this, and I'm saying no because beginning to end means beginning to end, and the end is the reason why it is not. Season 5 was not good, and it just I love the fact that every season had a purpose in the whole the game in general, and that season 5 was about the paper was like perfect for me because I'm like, this is media, this matters, this kind of thing. But then it turned into something else, and I was like, what the hell is McNulty doing the whole season? That's all I kept, like I couldn't concentrate on anything else because I was trying to figure out what the hell is McNulty doing? Why is he doing this? What is happening? Are they serious? Is this really going to be the end of the show? And it was, and it just that's why I loved it. So I love the show so much. So much. And for that to be tacked onto the end of it, it's almost like, why?
That's how I felt like Game of Thrones.
It's like you write this great paper. It is. No, seriously, it's like you write this great paper. It could have
been one of the best shows, and you ended it like that.
Yeah, you write this great paper, and then your teacher's like, I need 100 more words to the end.
Yeah, it's like you write a.
There's that picture that's a meme. It was used for Game of Thrones, where it's like
the horse.
The horse.
Yes.
So you show the by the time you get to the 4-year-old drawing. When you need to like pull up a picture. You pull up a picture, and it's what it is. But I thought of another cliche. I want to interject really quickly because when you said what I do, and this has like, I don't like this movie for a lot of reasons, but it's a movie. Like it just like when we have to represent certain people, like what is a certain profession, you make them ugly to represent that profession. I took it the movie Precious. When they said, I hate that movie. I don't like that movie because it does a lot of things wrong. I don't like it because it's kind of problematic. But here's the thing.
It is.
That kind is really. But here's the thing, that like because I'm in this profession, the director said, "Oh, to make Mariah Carey as a more realistic social worker, we had to make her ugly." I'm a social worker. I hope people don't think it doesn't matter. But like, I took that really wrong. I took that so wrong because I'm just like, why do you feel like? And especially because it's a show. This is a career that's mostly made up of women. Like I would say it's like 80 to 90% women, and it's like to represent this career, you have to make Mariah Carey ugly. She did the wrong.
I was about to say to further your point, think about my representation in movies. You know what I do for a living.
Yeah.
It's not looking good out here.
In your career, it is mostly women. And in your career, have you noticed that they make, unless it's like a hot teacher too, like with teachers, like they make them ugly to represent their career. I don't like that. And that is a cliche that no one talks about. Why are you making people ugly?
Right.
Engineers too.
Yeah, engineers too. It's like, but it's never women either. Like, and it's just like, why are you making them ugly? I just remember seeing that interview, and I'm just like, why? So why? I wanted to ask. So why does a social worker have to be ugly? And first of all, like, I had an issue with what she did. She should have gotten fired and lost her license for that. I was like, you left a file right in front of a client, and you didn't notice the file was missing.
Yeah. Precious is a terrible adaptation of Push. Push, which is already like a tough hang for me, but Precious is like such a bad adaptation of that.
I love Gabrielle Sidibe. I do.
Oh yeah, she's hilarious. She's great. Awesome. Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of launched. But that movie's terrible. It's problematic. But out of all that, it is a kind of a petty thing to pick out of all of them. But because it's my career, to see it represented so horribly, and just the director said we have to make this person ugly. But that's a cliche, and it's mostly the women's careers. It's like we have to make this person as ugly. And secretaries, they're either hot or they're ugly, and there's no like just average person. Like they're either hot or ugly, and if they're hot, it's a plot device. If they're ugly, it's because they're
like Eve Moneypenny,
right. And if they're ugly, it's inconsequential. So I had to get on that tangent because, like, when you mention my career, I'm just like, I hate this, and I will. If I see that director, it's on site.
I mean, that's actually funny because Lee Daniels is a scammer apparently, but we're not going to focus on that too long.
Why are social workers ugly? Why are social workers ugly? We go through enough. We're broke. We're in student loan debt.
You got to be ugly too, though.
We got to be ugly. And now we've got, because of recent events, we got one blue line people coming. Every time I mention social work, I got people in my mentions telling me I can't do a certain job. So.
Oh no!
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it's anyway. Not to derail any further, but that it's one of the things. It's not a cliche that like I don't like. It's a cliche that pisses me off.
No, I feel you. That's very valid. I feel like people don't know enough about the professions, and they're like, oh yeah,
this person's ugly because we have to represent the profession.
Right.
Awful.
But yeah, so my answer to this question is, I always tell people, when it comes to my favorite shows of all time, I have a 1A and a 1B. So Breaking Bad is 1A. The Wire is 1B. Breaking Bad to
what's
me.
Robot 2?
I haven't seen Breaking Bad.
Mr. Robot is 2. Oh, Courtney.
Okay, Courtney.
I know.
Look, we're gonna get onto you later. But
Michael hasn't seen it either, and we've been saying we're gonna see it as a couple. I know.
Watch it as a family. Yes, please.
I know. Yeah. We've been meaning to. It's on our list.
This is the time.
So okay, my answer is going to sell you here, hopefully.
Okay.
So Breaking Bad did several things that I didn't know was possible through TV. First, it had a total genre shift, because if you remember, the first season of Breaking Bad was a dark comedy. Then it totally shifted to like a crime show. And then it introduced
dark.
Yeah, dark. Yeah. And then it introduced and then it introduced something that I didn't know was possible. I like maybe there is an official term for it, but I don't know what else to call it. But I'm gonna call it like visual storytelling, because it had Vince Gilligan, who is once again an alum of X-Files, one of like the greatest people in TV. He did a thing where he would kind of accentuate the story by doing things a certain way. Like, you've heard my spiel before, like the crawl space episode, when they're pulling the camera away from Walt as he's like laughing like maniacally. Like, I'm like, whoa, that's awesome. Or when Jesse is like holding a shovel, like, and they're showing like, and the camera is like at an angle over his shoulder, and they're showing him holding the shovel. Like, it sounds stupid as I say it, but if you watch the episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So Breaking Bad is like it's like a perfect mesh of like what's like on paper and like a story that's told visually. And it did things that I didn't think was possible through TV. So after Breaking Bad, I feel like most shows have been chasing Breaking Bad, and I don't think any show will ever eclipse Breaking Bad. So let me get on The Wire. To me, The Wire is an essential show for like just anybody living in America, because I always say that The Wire isn't about McNulty. The Wire isn't about Stringer Bell, Avon, Marlowe. The Wire, yeah, right. The Wire is about the American city, because like you said earlier, each season of The Wire is about how all these things are connected. Like, it's all connected. Like, it starts, it starts on the corner, then it goes to the docks, then it goes to the schools. So yeah, it's all connected, and The Wire shows you how like things are affecting on each layer, and how the American city is never going to change because all of these things are like just woven within each other. So yeah, The Wire isn't necessarily flashy, but it's like the best storytelling I've ever seen. But because of all the other stuff, Breaking Bad is my 1A. And Joe says Breaking Bad gets better with every season of how great. Oh yeah. And Better Call Saul is an extension of that, because to me, I think Breaking Bad is the better story, but Better Call Saul is like where they got the storytelling better, because like it's better storytelling than Better Call Saul, but Breaking Bad is better. But anyway, not to get off topic, but yeah, you should definitely watch Breaking Bad.
Which one should I watch first? Okay, because this is a good determination. Which one should I start first?
Breaking Bad, absolutely. You got to start Breaking Bad first. No, Breaking Bad first.
Okay, so everyone that has seen both of these, tweet me at Courtnell C and tell me which one I should watch first, because I need to watch one of them.
I only said The Wire because of your reasoning, Ronnie. Because The Wire is an exceptional show, but you need to watch that before you watch Breaking Bad, because as far as completion, Breaking Bad is a better complete story versus The Wire. Like, I don't want you to watch Breaking Bad and then watch The Wire and be like, oh, this ain't Breaking Bad. So watch The Wire.
Okay. No. That's good. That's good.
Separate it from, yeah.
I'm gonna do a poll on Twitter. I'll do a poll on Twitter.
Ryan says,
I want to say
if it wasn't for season 4,
Community is one of the best shows of all time.
Yeah, it is. It really was.
And that's an underrated show. Yeah.
Before we go off The Wire, I wanted to mention I love it so much also because it didn't do that thing that old cop shows used to do. And I think, well, I know
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, Shoes was saying how, like, if you think about it, our whole lives, TV has been showing us that police are supposed to ignore authority and that we should hate internal affairs. Like whenever internal affairs is injected into the show, we're supposed to be angry because they're going to go and get the police for doing something they weren't supposed to do. So it's crazy how that's ingrained in our brain. Yeah. And The Wire did not candy coat it at all. One of my favorite characters from The Wire pretty much told one of his detectives how to get away with murder, or not murder. He didn't murder him. He pistol whipped the boy or something.
Yeah, he pistol whipped him.
But he pretty much told him how to get away with doing something he shouldn't have done.
And once again, one of the most honorable men on the show did this.
Yes. Exactly. I mean, like, seriously, if you have to gauge, I think maybe Bunny may have been the most honorable.
Yeah, and Bunny Colvin is my favorite character on The Wire.
Yeah, and then he was right, and this detective was right on the Bunny, and he was just like, look, this is what you did, this is what you say, this is what's going to happen. He also let 2 of his detectives run around, and I mean, I'm not mad at him for letting them go and try to find the money that they lost, but he still allowed it. And it's just like, you're allowing almost a lawlessness in here while chastising and arresting these children and these corner boys and these gangsters for being lawless. And in Amsterdam, it's just like mind blowing.
I could do an entire episode of Amsterdam because I got takes on that. I'm not gonna get into it. Yeah.
So it's The Wire. I mean, it was really, really, really well done, especially for the type of show that it is, because you expect NYPD Blue or Law and Order and all these things you've been seeing all your life. New York Undercover, even though that's my next best cop show. But anyway, you see all that.
I think Law and Order is the only propaganda I can't give up.
Yeah, it's propaganda for sure. But The Wire is not that, and it shows. I love how it shows both sides of both sides. You see the good and the bad on the drug side. You see the good and the bad on the law side. And it doesn't look like the show is playing favors to either, because at some point you almost kind of want the drug dealers to get away.
Kind of want them to win. Yeah.
Kind of want them to win. You shouldn't want that, because, they're still drug dealers. And you have to remember, hey, D, they're drug dealers. You can't want the drug dealers to be able to sell drugs freely. They're bad for the community, but you kind of want to because the cops get on your nerves so bad. And I just like the fact that they weave it in there really well without making you hate really either one. Of course, there are people you hate, but I never hated the police for doing their jobs, because I loved Kima. I loved them all, but there were things that they did, and I was just like, girl, now why would you do that? And the same thing for the other side. So the show is magnificent. Like I said, the only reason I do not give it the greatest show of all time from beginning to end is because season 5 felt like
season 5.
It felt like an afterthought, kind of like maybe he always wanted to do it, but then something happened, and it almost feels like the writer's strike. Remember when the writer's strike came and you could tell that the show?
I was about to say. To be fair, The Wire was living season to season basically, because while it's this magnificent show, after the fact, it had low viewership at the time, so it was really fighting season for season. So in between season 4 and season 5, it was abruptly canceled. So there was still story there, but it had to be wrapped up, and you can tell that they had to deviate from their original path. But Black Dynamite, I sell drugs to the community. But no, you could tell that they had to quickly wrap up the story, and season. I will say I do like the last episode of season 5, minus the ending. Yeah, but
no.
But
spoilers.
yeah,
you actually
no spoilers. I'm not gonna spoil it for you.
I'm proud of us because we haven't spoiled anything for you. And
that sounds the opposite. Go ahead.
I was about to say, and that's the thing. Everything we were mentioning, I want everyone watching to be able to watch it if you haven't. So I'm gonna try my best not to spoil anything.
I spoiled Game of Thrones, so sorry. What I was gonna say, Game of Thrones has been out for a while, so it's a decade-long show. Season 9. But here's the thing: that sounds like the opposite of Game of Thrones, where HBO is like, "Please, we will throw money at you," and they're like, "We want to go ruin Star Wars." And guess what? They didn't get to go ruin Star Wars. HBO was like, "Please, we will give you money, please." And it's not it's not like yeah, thank God.
Show.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. Oh my God, they tried to have that little slavery trope show.
Can I mention something like two things? First, these are the guys. Ryan Reynolds told these guys, hey, I don't think Deadpool should be wearing a red leather vest and have his mouth sewn up. And then they were like, if you don't like this, we will fire you and replace you with someone else. Second, the funniest thing I've ever seen, and I say this, I actually do say this pejoratively, even though I don't say it pejoratively in real life. And SJW, social justice warriors, people were like, we're gonna protest. And this is how you know that people just love Game of Thrones. They're like, we're gonna protest Confederate by watching Game of Thrones and use the hashtag no Confederate. I thought that was hilarious. It's we're not gonna cancel D&B because we still need to see where the story goes. But
that was hilarious. I'm sorry.
No Confederate during the show. And I was like, I see what y'all doing, but anyway, I just wanted to say that.
They ruined that show so bad. It was just, again, you had, as soon as it went off of George R.R. Martin's work and they stopped bringing him on to do and help as a producer.
I wonder why.
It's just like it's white people stealing work, and it made them look great. And now we realize they're stupid and they have horrible ideas, and they should never be able to touch anything again.
Never in their defense. I want everybody to know that this is not in their defense. But I have a question. Did he ever decide on an ending? Is he writing?
He told them the ending. They know the ending. They know the ending. So they do know it. But they just don't know all the way because he hasn't finished.
It was one of those situations that we were talking about when you were talking about the boys, when you were like, it seems like they feel like they can do better than what the author
Well, the thing is every season they had him come on and as a producer, and he actually directed one episode, but starting from season 6, which is when things started going down, they stopped doing that. And the excuse was that he's focusing on his book, which is very clearly not true. So I think it's more of like Dave and Dan. I think that's when they got tired of doing the season. But and that's
it
what
may have
pisses me
also
off.
been tough because he probably was like, no, I don't want y'all to do it that way. No, don't do it that way. They were just like, well, look,
would be surprised.
Stop bringing him on set.
And that's what pisses me off is because they begged him. They begged him to let him do the show, to let them do the show. They begged. Mm-hmm. So, I think some of the actors, like I like Emilia Clarke as a person, but as an actor, no. But we had got some great actors out of that show, but I just am wondering. I'm like, I wonder how much it was a really good show. And it wasn't because of David and Dan, it was because of George's work. And I'm like, if it was in better hands, I wonder even how much better that show could have been.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to get off on my Game of Thrones tangent again. But we're talking about TV in general, so.
What TV show outside of like the big ones that people watch, and the big ones, I mean like The Wire, Sons of Anarchy, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, what like, I guess, small niche type show would you suggest? We know you would say you're the worst, right, Ronnie?
I have a few more things to mention. I have like 2 more to add to the pot, but I'll let you go first.
Okay. You have any, Courtney?
I'll let you go first because I got to think on that one.
Of course, I always tell people Friday Night Lights. It's my jam. Friday Night Lights and Spartacus. Watch
Spartacus is good.
It was so good. It is very, very, and I know I told y'all I don't really like the whole sex on TV thing because I think it's useless. Spartacus has a lot of that, and most of it is useless. But it's a good show anyway, so watch that.
One show I like, but I like it because it's corny and it also plays towards my Scottish roots, which I'm gonna anything with that. I'm gonna try and watch it because that's my people, and I like seeing little small references. Is Outlander? It's so like romantic, corny, but I like it because they actually get some things in Scottish culture right. I like that. To me, it's kind of like my guilty pleasure type show. And if you like it too, see. And like, there's some things where I'm just like, for me, especially because my grandfather's dad is from Scotland. So like my grandfather would always do like all of this kind of stuff and like very in your face about being Scottish, which most Scottish people are. Scottish Americans are very much like that. So like just seeing some of that kind of stuff played out, I really enjoy. So yeah, I really like that. That's one of my things. I haven't been able to watch like smaller TV as much lately, so I don't have as many suggestions. I think I've been focusing more on like docuseries and stuff. That's been more of my thing. Most of what Netflix has been pretty good. Like all of like their stuff lately, if you have Netflix, which most people do, what is it? I'll have to look it up and I'll tweet it. I'll put it so we can tweet about it. Is the one where they're focusing on different aspects. Like this second season, they did it all in like different kinds of barbecue, and they travel all around the world to talk to. I love shit like that. I love learning about different cultures, and I love learning about food. Netflix has a lot of good docuseries based on food in general. Like almost all of them have been hits.
Question: Outlander. That's the one where the lady goes back and forth in time, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is another one of my shows where I saw something out of context. It was the first episode, and a lady, I know, well, it wasn't, it was sexual assault, actually. A lady was about to be, I think they were about to rape her, so I turned it off. But then somebody told me they didn't do it. Was she lying to me?
No.
I can watch it now.
Okay. From what I remember, yeah, no. I think like I have that's one thing I hate about Game of Thrones is the amount of rape scenes. yeah, I don't think so. There are because it is more of a romance. There's like a lot of sex scenes, but they're like romance sex scenes. You know what I mean? It's not like man directed this only, and it's just almost porn. What are you gonna say? You look excited.
I have another question. There was a question I'm gonna ask y'all, but go ahead. I wanna. It's one more question. I know we're running out of time. Go ahead, Ronnie.
But yeah, I was gonna say, animes. People should get into animes, and I was gonna recommend My Hero Academia as well.
Yes,
it's the gateway. It's the gateway. So I think because Netflix has like multiple different sections dedicated to animes, and like I know a lot of Americans like look at it and just think it's cartoons. I think we should look at animation in a totally different way, because again, like Samurai Jack was my way. It's like animation is just as good as non-animation. People need to take it seriously, but My Hero Academia is your gateway. And get into that section a lot more. There's a lot of really good shit on there, so I highly recommend it, even if you're not an anime person. Also, subs, not dubs. We don't recognize dub people in this household. The Japanese voice acting is way better across the board than the English one. Your experience.
Except for Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, and Cowboy Bebop is different. Oh, that's one of the best ones too. Oh, okay.
Yes.
I've grown partial to the dubbed version of My Hero Academia, just because I just like their voices better, and I think it's just because I started that way. So now when I watch the subs ones, it's kind of like it's good, but I'm used to hearing it differently.
Yeah, if you start it one way, it's hard. But I do. I have heard that, and I like the Japanese better. But Cowboy Bebop is an exception. But Cowboy Bebop is like, for me, that's like holy grail. That's another show people should watch. A lot of the Adult Swim type. If anything, you saw on Adult Swim back in the day is pretty much a gold mine.
Boondocks.
Just, you know what? Watch our episode from years ago about where we were ranking the 100 greatest cartoons of all time, and just watch those.
Yeah, just watch everything we did.
Because like we're actually highlighting a lot of the things that we said there. So, and we have Roy Wood Jr. on one of those episodes.
Yeah.
Hey, Roy Wood Jr. Follow Ryan. Follow Ryan, because he's been begging you to follow his new account. So
please do. So yeah, so first, this is a show that came on TBS, but due to the evil powers of capitalism, it was moved to HBO Max, where no one will ever find it again. Search Party, excellent show. Yeah, it stars Alia Shawkat. It's about it's basically a millennial dark comedy. A millennial murder mystery dark comedy. That's all I can say about it.
That's all up my alley.
Please watch Search Party. It's excellent.
That's up my alley.
And my second answer is a bit of a tangent. People know I like TV a lot. They know that I often like to write about stuff that I'll never release to the world because I'm a procrastinator and I'm a self-deprecator. But this show made me change the entire course of an idea I had in my head, because they did it better than I would have. It's The Leftovers, particularly season 2. The Leftovers season 2 is...
You're welcome.
It's easily the best season of TV I've probably ever seen in my life. And that's no exaggeration. Like, I don't care if you don't care for the entire show. You have to get through season 1 just to get to season 2, because I cried during the episode of season 2. It's that good. Like,
you're welcome.
So yeah, I know. I was sleeping on it because I hated season 1. I hated it with a passion, but I went back and watched season 2, and it's magnificent. So that's a show that I feel like everybody has to experience that show. So yeah, Search Party and The Leftovers, particularly season 2.
By the way, The Wire
we are Regina King stan account, so
absolutely. Regina King all day, every day. But The Wire is currently winning on the poll.
Yeah. The Wire is running away.
And it's only because, seriously, the order, because I'm sure anybody that's telling you to watch The Wire that has seen both still wants you to watch both.
Oh, I still plan on watching both. I can only watch one thing at a time, plus the Mandalorian.
Yeah, you should.
So
just watch. Yeah, just watch.
So yeah, that makes sense. You should watch the Wire first. It is on HBO Max, so check that out.
Okay, I'm using my dad's login, so I don't have to worry about that anytime soon.
Who? And I know this is going to be difficult, so just try to think of it. Who would you say was? And I'll just say one of your favorite TV characters.
That's hard. Okay, I know. Go ahead, Ron.
Hold on.
Okay, I know that like I mentioned the show is propaganda, but I really love Detective Olivia Benson because she was a part of my childhood. I know it's propaganda, and I don't want to watch it again, but I just like her as a person.
Yeah,
but that's from my childhood. Yeah, I know, but she's great. She's great. Like it's a great character, and she's better than her job, honestly. But I like her because the actor actually took up like sexual assault awareness as a thing after a few seasons of being on the show.
So yeah, my answer is this is a show that people forgot about because admittedly I won't say he was fully canceled. He was like semi-canceled. Aziz Ansari. So Dev on Master of None is, and by the way, this is a show I kind of like grew with because I was at that stage of my life as I was watching the show. So I was like relating to like a lot of those experiences. So yeah, Dev of Master of None is probably one of my favorite characters, and it's like not even like semi-autobiographical, but it's like a lot of like the experience of like the late 20s person. So I really related to that character. I really liked how Aziz chose to like characterize himself in that show. So yeah, it would be Dev of Master of None.
It's a hard question. This is a hard question. I would need time to actually write it
out. It's so crazy that the two people that got canceled made like the best episode ever, because I still think that's probably one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen. That Thanksgiving episode, it's just so good. So good. Nipples and
new edition of Filipino new edition.
I actually have two. You're gonna have to help me out, Ronnie, because I can't remember his name, but the rapper from You're the Worst.
Oh man.
What was the rapper?
Wait, are you talking about Honey Nuts or the other one?
The main one, not Honey Nuts.
Because I feel like one was like Shit Stain and the other was like Honey Nuts.
Not Shit Stain, yeah.
Okay.
Shit Stain. But the names themselves should show you how ridiculous all of it was.
Dude was brilliant. Dude had like a great mind. Like
Sam.
Yeah,
Sam was but it was Shit Stain is not him, but the other one, was it Sam? What's his name? Sam?
I think his name was Sam. It was Sam, Shit Stain, and Honey Nut. Yeah.
And Honey Nuts. Yes, so Sam. I liked him just because he was like it was one episode in particular where there was a gay guy. I think somebody was gay and he was at his house. And she was like, I didn't know you were gay. And he was like, I ain't gay. He just suck a good dick or something like that. And it was just hilarious because he was just being honest. He was just like, I mean, it is what it is. And my other one is Ronrico Lee plays Reggie in Survivor's Remorse. And I know that show kind of went under the radar, first of all, because it was on Stars, I think it was.
Stars.
But his character, like, the acting was great, but the character was awesome because he was the person that everybody needs that's always going to have your back, but also going to talk you down and make things make sense, no matter how big you get, no matter how famous you are and whatever else. And at this point, the show was kind of loosely based off LeBron James's, kind of like his career and all this kind of stuff. But so Cam in the show is pretty much the LeBron of the show. And Reggie is his it's his manager / agent, whatever. But he keeps him level the whole time, and he just makes good decisions. He's smart. It's just good to see that there is somebody in a show that's relatable to real people, like people that just have good sense and don't need to be the foil, don't need to be the fuck up, don't need to do all these things. He was just a normal person that made good decisions, but they didn't make him pretentious or any of those other things. So he's like probably by far one of my favorite characters I've ever seen written, just because he was real without being boring. He still had things that could make him enjoyable to watch without him just being a boring dude that went to work every day, because nobody wants to see that. So those two, Sam.
I have another one too, because I was thinking and they're actually voiced by the same person. Rest in peace.
Go ahead.
I have Aku, again, Samurai Jack is one of the best villains because it's hilarious, and the voice acting, especially before the actor died, is some of the best voice acting. I really highly recommend you do the older seasons because it's just so good. And then Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender, voiced by the same person. I think it's just because the voice actor was just so impeccable at what he did. Those are two of my favorite for very different reasons. Aku is a villain, obviously, because he's literally a demon, but he's hilarious. The whole character is hilarious. But like he's like, you still have it in that it's terrifying. Like, he's terrifying, but he's also hilarious. They balance that. And then Uncle Iroh is just, for me, that whole, and I'm trying to like highlight cartoons because people don't take them seriously, even though it's still an art form. But Uncle Iroh is just like that wholesome character. And like, he's very, you know what? I think Uncle Iroh, and it may be a cultural thing, he's one of those characters that's like always morally good, but it works because that's just who he is. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. Like, he always does things. He's honorable, but he understands what's necessary and what's not necessary. I think that's what the difference is. Like, he's always about being honorable, but he also isn't stupid. He's like very smart and very clever about it. And he's like actually one of the second most powerful firebender, and you wouldn't know it about him because he's a very humble person. It's just like the way he speaks. He's funny, but he also just always has these things to say. And again, I think it's just, I forget his name, but the voice actor was just so talented. I think that helps.
So yeah, shout out to Joe, because he says Chidi from The Good Place. Chidi is definitely a character I can relate to for many reasons, but yeah, that's all we have for today. Thanks for checking out our mailbag episode. Just a few notes. Although we're in the interim right now, that doesn't mean we're done. We will be covering The Mandalorian starting next Sunday, so check us out for that. Like, we're very excited about that.
I'm not going to say what I'm thinking because
I will have my finger on the mute button for Courtney just in case. But yeah, so check out The Mandalorian. Also,
it will have Pedro Pascal and Giancarlo Esposito. That's all I'm going to say.
She's just telling you the cast.
I'm just telling you the cast.
Yeah.
Sometimes aesthetics matter.
Also, I've been like kind of dropping Fargo recaps like guerrilla style, and they've surprisingly been doing well. So if you've been listening to my Fargo recaps, shout out to you, because I haven't been dropping them on the timeline, but people are still finding them. They're actually doing very well. I'm surprised. So yeah, thank you for checking out my. So thank you for checking out my Fargo recaps.
People, it's what he does.
So we
I know.
What time we'll be able to watch us? People will be able to watch us, because we know they drop on Fridays, but we're not going to be doing the episodes on Fridays.
So yeah, we're gonna so Sunday the same time. I think that's what we agreed on. So yeah, it'll be Sundays at 7-ish. So
7 Central, 8 Eastern.
So yeah, just come back for that. If you haven't watched The Mandalorian, it's a very short show. You can knock that out quickly. So get on that right now before this Friday. Like,
if you've seen people talking about Baby Yoda, that's what it's from. But it's good. Yeah. It's not like, I mean, it's like corny the best way, and like we're all on the same page that Star Wars makes better TV shows than it does movies. It's really good. It's really good. And I'm a Star Wars nerd. I'm biased, but I also like will let you know if I hate something that's Star Wars. It's a good show.
So yeah, one trope I'll end on to sell this to you. Another cliche I actually do like is when you kind of like mix genres and you do something that's like super familiar, but you like add another layer on top. The Mandalorian is basically just a Western. It's basically the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It's like a space Western.
Yeah, it's a space Western. So if you like Westerns, if you like like a lone wolf and cub type story like Logan, then you'll like the Mandalorian. So you should totally check that out.
I just had a brain epiphany moment. Like that's what makes Star Wars so good, is because the original Star Wars was supposed to be a space opera. What makes the space with the Mandalorian so good is it's a space Western. So you just take really good tropes. You take really good tropes, just make it space, and that's all people want to see.
That's all people.
My mind, see, Disney. Look at my mind. So you hire me. Send the check.
Yeah,
send the check.
That's what people want to see, not sexually active Force ghosts who have been dead for centuries. But
or people ending up with their a mental emotional abuser. Disney. Yeah. Anyway. Oh yeah, that's one thing. I'll close it with the thing I hate. It's women ending up with men who are like literally abusive, like ending up with a villain. Yeah. Stop it. What's that? Stop. That's how I feel.
And then Jordan means stop it.
Stop. I think of AJ every time I see that now.
Yeah. But this was fun.
But yeah, that's our show. This is really fun. We'll have to do another mailbag episode. So yeah, if you asked us a question, be on the lookout for these. We'll be in contact with you, and that's all we got for this time. So